Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're taking your unique collection of articles, research, personal notes, all focused on ancient wisdom. And we're embarking on, well, a journey. A journey into some really profound ideas. Ideas that have brought peace, to troubled minds for literally thousands of years.
It's quite remarkable how timeless they feel.
Isn't it? Our mission today, yours and mine, is to really extract the most impactful nuggets, the key insights from the very sources you've shared with us.
Right.
We're exploring this profound idea that everything happens for a reason, but, and this is key, not just as some kind of philosophical belief you tack on.
No, much more practical.
Exactly, as a truly practical understanding of reality itself. This isn't just about, learning facts. It's meant to be an experience, something to be lived.
That's the hope.
Showing you how even the most difficult moments, the things we really struggle with, can carry profound purpose. How they can shift your perspective on every challenge you face. All seen through the lens of the material you provided.
And it's truly fascinating looking through these teachings, many of them thousands of years old, how they invite us to fundamentally shift our perspective. It's quite radical, actually.
How so?
Well, we so often find ourselves feeling lost, don't we? Adrift in what just seems like chaos or maybe meaningless suffering in our lives.
Definitely. That feeling of, why is this happening to me?
Precisely. But what these sources consistently highlight is this encouragement, this invitation to recognize something else, to see a vast, intricate, almost unimaginably interconnected web of causes and conditions.
A web.
Yes, a web that shapes every single moment of our experience. So our mission today really is to discover why, in a very specific and powerful way, Buddhism teaches that absolutely everything happens for a reason.
Okay.
And maybe more importantly, what that can actually mean for your experience of life. How you navigate its ups and downs, hopefully, with, well, greater ease and clarity.
Okay, so where do we start? To truly grasp this idea, everything happens for a reason. Where's the foundation?
It really has to start with impermanence.
Impermanence.
Right.
To truly grasp why everything happens for a reason, we first have to come to terms with one of life's most fundamental, yet often resisted, truths: impermanence.
We really do resist it.
We do. It's a truth we often fight against, isn't it? I mean, we crave stability, predictability. We want things to stay the same. We want the good times to last forever.
Naturally. But reality itself, it's just in constant dynamic motion. It doesn't stand still.
And this isn't just some, abstract philosophical concept that monks ponder on a mountaintop somewhere.
No, not at all. It's incredibly concrete.
It's as real as the air we breathe, the ground beneath our feet right now, the very thoughts swirling in our minds. Nothing, absolutely nothing stays fixed.
Everything is in flux.
Everything is in constant flux.
Okay.
Appearing and then vanishing. It's like this endless dance of change. Think about it practically. When you step onto, say, the aged wooden floors of an old monastery, or even just an old house, you hear that subtle creak beneath your feet. That sound and those very timbers. Like you, like me, they are subject to impermanence. They change, they age, they wear out eventually.
We're not static.
Not at all. Or consider your own breath. On a cool morning, you can actually see it, right? Small clouds forming with each exhale.
Visible for just a second.
Just a moment, then vanishing into the larger atmosphere. Your breath, this vital, constant part of you, it's constantly appearing and disappearing. It's never the exact same breath twice.
It's always new.
Or remember crossing a river, maybe as a kid, or even recently. The water you stepped into just a moment ago, it's already downstream, it's gone.
Replaced instantly.
Replaced by new water flowing from the source. The river continues, sure, the form is there, but the water itself is never the same from one moment to the next.
That's a powerful image.
And the same can be said for your own thoughts. Those, ceaseless currents flowing through your mind. Always moving, never holding still, never quite the same from one instant to the next. Just flow.
And this continuous ebb and flow. It isn't just a physical phenomenon affecting rivers and floorboards. Its profound implications apply to our entire inner world, too.
Our minds, our feelings.
Exactly. Think of those maybe haunting memories that sometimes surface unexpectedly, or the opportunities we feel we've lost, the what-ifs,
Oh, yeah.
the relationships that inevitably change or sometimes sadly end, the paths not taken. The weight of these things can sit really heavy on our shoulders, can't?
For sure. regret is powerful.
It is. Yet all of these, the memories, the regrets, the changing relationships, they're also subject to this very same law of impermanence. They are constantly changing, evolving, or dissolving whether we acknowledge it or not. They aren't fixed entities.
So even difficult memories change over time.
Their intensity changes, our
Yeah.
relationship to them changes.
Yeah.
And here's the profound, liberating insight of really getting impermanence. Your current suffering, your worries, your challenges, right now they are as impermanent as your breath.
That's
Yeah.
helpful.
It is. This isn't just a truth about the world out there. It's a powerful antidote to anxiety. It reveals that even your hardest moments are in constant flow, destined to change and eventually pass away.
So they won't last forever.
They won't. And when we deeply grasp this, truly internalize it, it starts to loosen our grip, our tight hold on our expectations, our resistance to how things are. It opens up space for a new way of being, a lighter way.
And it's precisely this understanding of constant change, this flux, that leads us somewhere else, doesn't it? It brings us to what you called, I think, the universe's most fundamental operating principle.
You're absolutely right. If we connect this idea of constant change to the bigger picture, this inevitably brings us to the most fundamental law governing our experiences, karma.
Karma, a word many people know but maybe misunderstand.
Very possibly. It's the powerful law of cause and effect. And again, this isn't just some quaint belief system. It's presented as a natural operating principle of the universe itself.
Like physics.
In a way, yes, like gravity. Every single action you take, every thought you allow yourself to entertain, and every word you speak or write, it generates consequences.
Every single one.
That's the teaching. These consequences don't just appear in isolation, they ripple outward. They influence not only your own future experiences, but also the conditions around you, the people you interact with.
So it's all interconnected.
Deeply. In this framework, nothing, absolutely nothing, happens without a reason, without a preceding cause or condition.
Okay, but let's clarify. Because karma often gets confused with fate, right? Like it's all predetermined.
Yes, and it's absolutely crucial to understand that karma is not fate in the way we often think of it. It's definitely not some cosmic system of rewards and punishments being handed out by an external judge somewhere.
Okay, so no big guy with a ledger.
No. Instead, think of it as a natural law, as impartial and consistent as gravity. Imagine tossing a small stone into a perfectly still pond.
Okay, I see ripples.
Exactly. You watch as perfect concentric circles ripple outward from the point where the stone hit the water. They spread out, touching everything in their path.
Right.
That, in its essence, is karma. Cause and effect in action. You wouldn't expect those ripples to suddenly become square, would you?
No, that'd be weird.
Just as you cannot make the ripples square, you cannot change the inherent law that actions have consequences. But here's the profound difference, and this is where your freedom truly lies.
Okay.
Unlike the stone, which has no choice about falling or how the water responds, you can choose which actions to take. You have agency.
So the choice is the key.
Choice is the key. This capacity for conscious choice is your true freedom within this system. The incredible power this gives you is the understanding that while you might not be able to control the weather, metaphorically speaking,
Or the ripples once the stone is thrown.
right, but you can choose what seeds you plant, what actions you initiate. This transforms karma from some distant, maybe scary cosmic ledger into a tool for active, conscious creation of your own future experiences.
That distinction between karma and fate is crucial. That really puts the power back in our hands, doesn't it? It's about our choices now shaping the future.
Precisely. It emphasizes responsibility and potential.
But I have to ask, because this comes up a lot. For many people, the idea of everything happens for a reason, even framed as karma, can still feel like a heavy burden. Especially when we see, seemingly innocent people suffering immensely, maybe from natural disasters or terrible accidents or systemic injustices like poverty or discrimination. How do these teachings help us reconcile that apparent randomness or injustice without just shrugging it off as, oh, that's just their karma? Because that feels wrong.
Yeah, it's a common misconception, right?
It is a very common misconception, and you've hit on a vital question. It speaks to a deep potential for misunderstanding that can actually cause more harm.
So how do we avoid that trap?
The answer lies in understanding the vast complexity and time frame of this law. Karma, or more accurately, the ripening of the effects of our actions, karma vipaka, does not always happen immediately. It's not instant cause and effect in most cases.
Okay, think of it like seeds again. Some seeds you plant sprout very quickly, right? Bearing fruit within days or weeks. Think radishes.
Right. Quick return.
But other seeds, maybe an acorn planted to grow an oak tree, take seasons, years, sometimes even decades, or, in the Buddhist view, potentially lifetimes, to fully mature and bear their fruit.
So there's a huge time delay possible.
Exactly. The web of causes and conditions is incredibly vast and intricate. It stretches across time in ways our limited human perspective simply cannot fully perceive or trace back. This understanding is absolutely crucial because it helps us move beyond a simplistic, almost childish, tit-for-tat view of karma.
Yeah, I did good. Where's my reward now?
Or they suffered, they must have done something bad recently. It's not about immediate rewards or punishments like that. It's about the deep, intricate weaving of countless conditions over potentially vast stretches of time.
Okay, that adds a lot more nuance.
It does. Picture young monks, maybe novices, in a monastery garden. They're carefully transplanting tiny seedlings. Their hands move with this deliberate gentleness, because they know that how they treat these delicate young plants now will directly affect their growth, their health, and the fruit they might bear for seasons, maybe years to come.
The connection is clear there.
In the same way, the teachings say, we are constantly planting seeds through our actions, our speech, and even the intentions behind our thoughts. Some of these seeds will bear fruit relatively quickly in our lives. Others might take years, or again, maybe even lifetimes, according to this worldview, to mature.
But nothing is lost.
The fundamental teaching is that nothing is lost in this, let's call it cosmic accounting. No action goes without an effect eventually. So life's apparent randomness, or the seeming injustices we witness, these are often simply the result of causes that are too distant in time, too subtle, or too complex in their interaction for our limited perspective to fully grasp or trace back.
We just don't see the whole picture.
We see a tiny fraction. It's like that gardener again, the one who plants many different varieties of seeds, maybe over many years. They might be surprised by what emerges each day. Perhaps a flower they completely forgot they'd sown years ago. Yet the principle holds. Nothing grows that wasn't planted in the first place. Every single outcome, every experience you have is seen as the natural consequence of conditions that came before it, even if those conditions are hidden from your view.
That requires a lot of trust or faith in the process.
It does. It deepens our appreciation for interconnectedness, certainly, and it encourages patience and persistence in our wholesome actions, planting good seeds, knowing that even unseen seeds will eventually bear fruit. Maybe not when or how we expect, but they will ripen.
Okay, so if this complex web of cause and effect of karma is constantly unfolding, often over vast timescales, and our individual perspective is often so limited, we can't see all the connections. How do we even begin to perceive these distant causes and complex webs? How do we start to see this intricate dance of conditions that shapes our reality right now?
That's the practical question, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounds like it must begin, simply enough perhaps, with cultivating a very different kind of awareness in our daily lives, noticing more.
Exactly. A powerful and very accessible way to experience this directly is through the practice of mindfulness. Simply being fully present with what is actually happening in this very moment, right here, right now.
Mindfulness, another popular term. What does it mean in this context?
A beautiful, practical example often used to cultivate this full presence is found in mindful eating. It sounds simple, but it's profound.
Mindful eating, like paying attention to your food.
Precisely, but with a deeper intention. Imagine yourself perhaps in a monastery dining hall. It's usually silent during meals. Before any food is even touched, a gratitude chant is often recited.
Okay.
Now, this isn't just a formality like saying grace out of habit. It's intended as a deep recognition, a conscious bringing to mind of that vast web of causes and conditions we just talked about, the web that brings even a simple meal of rice and vegetables to the table.
So what kind of conditions?
They might acknowledge the sun and the rain that nourished the plants, the earth itself, the farmer who toiled to tend and harvest them, the countless hands that transported, prepared, and cooked the food, bringing it from the field to the kitchen and finally to your bowl.
Wow. Yeah, you don't normally think of all that.
You don't, and you are encouraged to look deeply at your food, maybe even seeing, as the saying goes, the entire universe in your bowl. When you do this, when you truly look at your simple meal, maybe some rice, vegetables, perhaps a piece of tofu, and consciously consider everything required to create it and bring it before you, it transforms. It shifts from just ordinary sustenance into something truly extraordinary, something sacred even.
It connects you to everything else.
It connects you. And then the act of eating itself becomes mindful, noticing the texture, the temperature, the nuanced flavor of each single bite. Chewing slowly, consciously, experiencing the food completely before swallowing.
Instead of just shoveling it in while watching TV.
Exactly. That mindful approach transforms an ordinary, often rushed experience into something extraordinarily rich and satisfying. It allows you to discover that, when you are fully present, ordinary experiences contain extraordinary depth and peace. Think about it. How many of us rush through life? Constantly multitasking, physically present for countless precious moments, eating, walking, talking to loved ones, but mentally absent, lost in thoughts about the past or anxieties about the future.
Guilty as charged.
We all are, often. We miss so much of life's richness, the actual fabric of our existence, because our minds are elsewhere. Mindfulness simply brings you back to the only moment that truly exists, right now.
Even cleaning up can be mindful.
Absolutely. Even the simple cleaning ritual after the meal in many monasteries embodies this principle. Each person might clean their own bowl meticulously, perhaps using a piece of pickled vegetable to wipe it, then a cloth, ensuring not a single grain of rice is wasted. Even the washing water might be saved and poured respectfully into the garden to nourish plants. Every element, every action in this mindful ecosystem is seen to have purpose and value. It reveals a profound truth. Life's meaning isn't hidden away in some grand future achievement or lost in past glory.
Where is it then?
It's found right here, in the depth of our presence with what is happening right now, in this very moment. That's where life unfolds.
That mindful eating example really makes sense. It feels like such a simple, accessible way to start this journey of presence, of noticing the conditions right in front of us.
It is. Anyone can try it with their next meal.
But beyond incorporating these mindful actions into our daily routines, like eating or walking, there's a more formal, dedicated practice to train this kind of awareness.
Isn't there? Yes, there is.
Meditation. For many, this is seen as the true gateway to understanding these profound teachings experientially. But let's be honest, it can also feel very daunting or mysterious to people.
It certainly can seem that way from the outside. And a natural next inquiry is, how exactly does meditation help us understand this core idea? Why everything happens for a reason?
Yeah, what's the connection?
Well, first, it's important to clarify that meditation, particularly mindfulness or insight meditation, vipassana, isn't primarily an intellectual exercise. You're not sitting there just thinking about concepts like karma or impermanence.
Okay, so it's not studying.
No. Instead, it's a direct experiential observation of the mind itself. It's a profound journey into your own consciousness, watching how it operates moment by moment.
How does that work in practice?
When you begin, you typically learn a proper posture. Maybe sitting cross-legged on a cushion or on a chair with your feet flat on the floor. The instruction is usually to sit with your back straight, but not rigid. The image often used is like a mountain, signifying dignity and stability.
Okay, straight but relaxed.
Exactly. Then you bring your attention gently to your breath. You don't try to control it or change it. You just observe its natural rhythm. Feeling the subtle sensations, maybe the air moving through your nostrils, or the gentle rising and falling of your chest or abdomen with each inhale and exhale.
Sounds simple enough, but I know it's not easy.
It's simple, but not easy, because you'll immediately notice how difficult it is to keep your attention on something so subtle and, frankly, repetitive. Your mind, quite naturally, wants to wander.
Oh yeah, off to the races.
Planning future activities, replaying past conversations, analyzing sensations, judging yourself, daydreaming.
The mind generates thoughts constantly.
So what do you do then? Try to stop the thoughts.
That's a common misconception. No, you don't try to force the thoughts to stop. That usually just creates more tension. There's a famous analogy used by the monks. The untrained mind is like a wild elephant.
A wild elephant.
Yes. It's powerful, full of energy, but it's uncontrolled. It crashes through the jungle, often causing damage even when it perhaps doesn't mean to, just following impulses. I can relate to that feeling.
Meditation is the process of gradually, gently taming this wild elephant, training it through mindfulness to serve us rather than letting its impulses control us.
How? By just watching the breath.
The core practice is this. Every time you notice that your mind has wandered off the breath, whether it's pulled away by a distracting sound like a buzzing fly, or an intrusive memory, or planning dinner, the practice is simply to gently and crucially, without judgment, bring your attention back to the breath.
Just return again and again.
Again and again and again. That returning is the practice. It's like doing a mental push-up. Every time you notice the distraction and gently guide your attention back, you're strengthening your mindfulness muscle. You're developing the capacity to acknowledge distractions without being completely swept away or captured by them.
Okay, so it's about noticing and returning. What happens over time?
As concentration deepens through consistent practice, and it does take consistency, you begin to observe not just the breath, but the very nature of experience itself. You start to notice directly how sensations arise in your body.
Like an itch or warmth.
Exactly. How thoughts pop into your awareness, how emotions well up, perhaps joy, perhaps sadness, perhaps irritation. You see them arise in your consciousness, exist for a time, sometimes very briefly, sometimes longer, and then they pass away.
Impermanence again.
Directly experienced. Nothing stays fixed. Everything is in constant flux, appearing and disappearing like waves on the surface of a vast ocean or clouds drifting through the sky. This is a direct, undeniable perception of impermanence happening within your own consciousness moment by moment.
Not just an idea, but something you see.
Something you see and feel. And from that direct seeing, a profound realization can dawn. Your entire life, everything you experience, just like each breath or each fleeting thought, follows the same pattern. It arises due to causes and conditions, it exists for a time, and then it ceases, giving way to the next moment, which in turn is conditioned by what just passed. It's all flowing together, creating the present moment, which then conditions what comes next. This direct, first-hand experience is absolutely crucial to understanding why everything happens for a reason. You're seeing the mechanism of cause and effect, of conditioning in action within your own being. You're watching the web being woven.
That untrained mind, like a wild elephant analogy, really resonates. I think many of us can relate to that feeling of our mind just taking off on its own, completely uncontrolled, dragging us along with it.
It's a very common human experience.
So it sounds like meditation isn't about stopping those thoughts or feelings, which seems impossible anyway, but about changing our relationship to them, seeing them more clearly.
Precisely. Seeing them for what they are. Temporary, conditioned phenomena. Not solid, permanent parts of me.
And it's in truly seeing that constant flow within ourselves, that continuous interplay of cause and effect playing out in our own minds and bodies, that we begin to understand how everything in the universe comes into being. Not just our thoughts, but everything.
That's the bridge, yes. The microcosm reflects the macrocosm.
Which brings us then to a really profound, maybe more complex, core Buddhist teaching, dependent origination. Pratityasamutpada. Tell us more about that intricate dance. How does everything arise?
Dependent origination. Yes, it's often considered the heart of the Buddha's insight into the nature of reality. And the true beauty of this teaching lies in how it reveals the profound, inescapable interconnectedness of all phenomena.
Interconnectedness again.
It's central. The core insight is that nothing, absolutely nothing, exists independently on its own. Everything arises in dependence on multiple causes and conditions. There is no solitary, self-existent thing anywhere. Everything is relational.
Can you give an example of seeing that?
Well, you experience the subtle interplay directly in meditation, as we just discussed. You notice how a simple sound from outside the meditation hall, maybe a bird singing, triggers a thought. Oh, a bird. That thought then prompts an emotion, perhaps slight pleasure or maybe annoyance if you're trying to concentrate. That emotion, in turn, might create a physical sensation, a slight relaxation or a tightening in the chest.
Like a chain reaction.
Exactly. All flowing into one another, conditioning each other, like tributary streams joining to form a mighty river. Each element arises dependent on the one before it and simultaneously gives rise to or conditions the next. Even our perception of time, which often feels so absolute and linear to us,
Past, present, future,
is shown through deeper insight to be conditioned. It's constructed by the mind based on memory and anticipation. It's not an inherent independent reality flowing out there.
Wow, okay. That's a big one. So, if everything is dependently arisen, what does that mean for how we should act? Does it mean we have no control?
That's a common question, but this understanding isn't about fatalism or rigid control, trying to force reality to be what we want it to be. That usually backfires.
Right.
Rather, it's about learning to skillfully work with what is, understanding the conditions present and responding wisely. Much like those monastery gardeners we talked about, they don't fight against nature or the harsh conditions of the mountain environment.
They adapt.
They adapt. They deeply understand the plant's natural tendencies, the soil, the weather patterns, and they work with those conditions. This embodies the middle way that Buddhism teaches so often.
The middle way. Between what?
Between extremes. In this context, it's the middle way between forcing reality, trying to impose our will rigidly, which leads to struggle and frustration, and passively resigning ourselves, just giving up, which leads to stagnation. It's about finding that skillful sweet spot of intelligent engagement with reality as it is, neither grasping tightly at what is pleasant nor aggressively resisting what is unpleasant.
Finding balance.
Finding balance and effectiveness through understanding.
There's a famous symbol used for this, isn't there? The lotus flower.
Ah, yes, the lotus flower. A powerful and beautiful symbol in Buddhism, seen everywhere in Buddhist art and culture. It perfectly symbolizes this principle of emergence from conditions.
How so?
The lotus grows from the mud and muck at the bottom of a pond. It rises up through the murky, unclear water, and then, miraculously it seems, it blooms immaculately, perfectly clean and beautiful on the surface.
Right. Above the mud.
Above the mud, yet nourished by the mud. Similarly, the teachings suggest awakening liberation from suffering, true peace emerges from the very conditions of our ordinary, often messy human lives, including all of our difficulties, our mud.
So the mud isn't an obstacle.
The mud isn't seen as an obstacle to the lotus, it's the very condition, the necessary nutrient base from which its beauty arises. Our challenges aren't necessarily obstacles to wisdom, they can be the very ground for its cultivation.
That's a radically different way to view difficulties.
It is. Or consider another image. A tiny dragonfly landing delicately on a lotus leaf floating on the pond. It seems so insignificant.
Barely makes a mark.
Yet it creates the slightest dimple in the water's surface. And that tiny dimple, in turn, sends almost imperceptible ripples outward across the pond. It demonstrates in a visually profound way how all things affect one another, how every action, however small and seemingly isolated, has repercussions within the interconnected web.
The ripple effect again.
The ripple effect. It's an elegant, living reminder that our very existence is a co-creation, a constant interplay with everything around us. We are part of the web, not separate from it.
That's a powerful image. The lotus rising from the mud, the dragonfly's ripple touching everything. So if everything happens for a reason within this intricate web of dependent origination, this interconnectedness, what is that reason exactly? Are we talking about some kind of divine plan that dictates our every move, some hidden purpose orchestrated from outside? Or is it something else entirely, something that perhaps puts the power back in our hands?
That's the crux of it, isn't it? What is the reason? The purpose of understanding these natural laws, impermanence, karma, dependent origination, is absolutely not about subscribing to some predetermined fate or divine plan. And it certainly isn't meant to make you anxious or burdened by a sense of perfectionism, constantly worrying about every little past mistake or future outcome.
That would be exhausting.
Completely counterproductive. On the contrary, its profound purpose is about empowerment, real, practical empowerment. It empowers you with the deep understanding that you actively participate in creating your reality, moment by moment.
How so? If things are conditioned.
While you can't control every single condition that arises, external events, other people's actions, the momentum of past karma, many crucial aspects of your experience remain firmly within your sphere of influence, especially, and most importantly, your responses to what happens, your intentions, your choices, your actions now.
The response is key.
The response is where your freedom lies. This shifts the perception of karma away from being some kind of cosmic punishment, a heavy burden carried from the past, and transforms it into a natural law. A law that, once understood, you can skillfully work with, much like a seasoned sailor works with the wind and the currents.
They don't control the wind, but they use it.
Exactly. They know its properties, they respect its power, and they adjust their sails accordingly to reach their destination. They work with the conditions.
So how does that translate to daily life when difficulties hit?
When difficulties inevitably arise, and they will, that's part of life, part of impermanence, instead of defaulting to those common, often painful questions like, why me? Or how can I escape this feeling? Or this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, the resistance.
The resistance. This understanding allows you, potentially, to pause, and in that pause to ask different questions, more constructive questions, like, okay, this is happening. What can I learn from this situation? And perhaps most importantly, how can I respond right now in a way that creates more positive, more skillful conditions moving forward for myself and maybe for others?
Shifting from victim to learner.
Or creator.
Yes, something like that. Think of a smooth, rounded stone you might find on a beach or by a river. It's beautiful, isn't it? It feels good in your hand.
Yeah, very calming. But it wasn't always like that. It was once probably rough, angular, jagged, what happened. It was tumbled by water, scraped against other stones, exposed to the elements for maybe years, centuries. What might have seemed like damage or hardship from the stone's perspective being constantly tumbled and scraped.
Actually made it beautiful.
It actually revealed its inherent beauty, wearing away its rough edges. Difficulties, the teachings suggest, can serve a similar purpose in our lives if we let them. The most challenging experiences often create the very conditions necessary for our greatest growth. They can force us to develop new capacities, resilience, compassion, patience, wisdom that might not have arisen otherwise in comfortable circumstances.
The mud for the lotus again.
Exactly. So instead of just resisting, you can ask, what might this difficulty be preparing me for? Or what positive qualities is this challenging situation helping me develop, even if it's painful right now?
That reframes it completely.
It does. Remember the frog jumping into the pond? Even that small splash creates ripples that gradually expand to touch all parts of the pond. Your actions, your responses, your choices, now they also create ripples. Ripples that extend far beyond what you can immediately see or observe. This understanding inspires greater mindfulness, greater care about the seeds you are planting through your choices every day.
Taking responsibility for our ripples.
Yes.
Yep.
Or consider another image. The elderly monk tending a bonsai tree. You see pictures of this sometimes. His gnarled hands moving with surprising delicacy and precision.
Wow.
He doesn't just impose his will on that miniature pine, trying to force it into some shape he imagined. Instead, he deeply understands the tree's nature, its growth patterns, its tendencies, and he works with it. He prunes gently, he guides its branches with wire, but always in harmony with the tree's inherent form and vitality.
Working with, not against.
That's what the Buddha called right action, samma kammanta, part of the Eightfold Path. Acting with full awareness, understanding the causes and conditions at play, and responding to what is with skillful intention rather than blind, habitual reaction. It's intelligent cooperation with reality.
Even learning something new fits this.
Absolutely. Even learning to use those tiny bonsai scissors for the first time, maybe feeling awkward or afraid of making a mistake. If it happens in a safe space, perhaps guided by a wise teacher, it demonstrates learning by doing. It teaches that we don't need to fear mistakes when the intention is skillful. Mistakes are part of the learning process, part of understanding conditions.
It takes the pressure off perfection.
It should. Your body intuitively understands how to flow with conditions too, without you even thinking about it. Think about walking on an uneven mountain path.
And just adjust, yeah.
You automatically adjust your gait, right? Shortening your steps on steep sections, shifting your weight instinctively on loose ground to maintain balance. You're constantly responding to conditions. Or picture a hawk soaring effortlessly high in the sky. Majestic. It's not flapping frantically. It's intuitively working with the invisible air currents, the thermals, neither fighting against the wind nor trying to control it, but instead using its energy to rise higher with minimal effort. That's a beautiful illustration of freedom within conditions.
Freedom within conditions.
Yeah.
Not freedom from them.
Exactly. That's the crucial distinction. The goal isn't to escape conditions, which is impossible as long as we live. The goal is the wisdom to navigate life's inevitable currents with minimal struggle and maximal harmony. It's about learning to dance with reality, not constantly wrestle with it.
That idea of freedom within conditions really shifts the perspective, doesn't it? From feeling trapped or constrained by circumstances to feeling empowered to navigate them skillfully.
That's the intention behind the teaching.
We've explored the profound nature of cause and effect, karma, this intricate dance of dependent origination, how everything comes into being through conditions. But this understanding, powerful as it is, can sometimes be misconstrued, as we touched upon earlier regarding karma and suffering. It can lead to unintended and even harmful interpretations.
Yes, this is critically important territory.
Let's tackle some of those common misunderstandings head on.
Yeah.
Because this feels like a point where real wisdom can either be gained or things can go badly wrong, leading to judgment instead of compassion.
Absolutely. An immediate implication that comes to mind, and one that needs careful handling, is this. How do we ensure that our understanding of everything happens for a reason leads to genuine wisdom and deep compassion, rather than cold judgment or, worse, blaming the victim?
Right, because you hear that sometimes, subtly or overtly.
It's absolutely crucial to clarify, unequivocally, that understanding cause and effect does not mean that victims of misfortune, whether it's illness, accident, poverty, violence, systemic oppression, somehow deserve their suffering. That is a grave misunderstanding, as some texts put it. It's an interpretation that unfortunately creates additional harm and perpetuates suffering by adding judgment and blame to already difficult situations.
So karma isn't a cosmic justice system in that sense.
No. The law of karma, as understood in Buddhism, is primarily about how causes naturally lead to effects through impersonal natural processes. It's not a system of moral judgment or divine punishment being meted out. Conditions like poverty or chronic illness, for example, arise from an incredibly complex web of countless causes stretching back through time.
What kind of causes?
These can include historical factors, societal structures, economic systems, genetic predispositions, environmental influences, collective actions and inactions of generations past. Many, many factors that are far beyond any single individual's immediate control or personal choice in this lifetime.
So it's much bigger than just individual actions.
Much bigger, much more complex. The implication here is profound and turns the potential judgment on its head. True understanding of cause and effect, of dependent origination, should lead to greater compassion for those facing difficulty, not less.
How so?
Because you recognize the complex conditions involved. It shifts the focus away from simplistic individual blame, they must have done something wrong, towards a sense of collective responsibility and interconnectedness. It helps us see the profound interconnection. The Buddha spoke of the truth that no one exists in isolation. Your well-being affects mine affects yours, and the conditions created by society affect us all.
So when we see suffering,
When we see someone suffering, the appropriate response flowing naturally from this understanding is not to speculate about their past karma. It's to ask, given these conditions, what can I do? How can I contribute to creating more positive, supportive conditions for this person now?
action, not just analysis.
Action rooted in empathy. This teaching is not meant to explain away suffering or justify injustice. Quite the opposite. It's meant to empower us, individually and collectively, to create more skillful causes, more wholesome conditions for everyone's benefit. It's a call to work actively to alleviate suffering and promote well-being for all beings, precisely because we understand how conditions create experience.
That's a vital clarification, thank you. It really grounds these ancient teachings in a very compassionate, actionable way for today's world.
It's essential. Otherwise, the teachings can be misused terribly.
This deeper, more nuanced understanding of cause and effect, interconnectedness, and the path away from suffering, it's truly foundational to Buddhist thought. And it's encapsulated beautifully, isn't it, in what are called the Four Noble Truths. They offer a kind of logical roadmap for navigating human experience. Could you walk us through those? How do they tie into everything happens for a reason?
Absolutely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the Four Noble Truths frame a very logical, almost medical approach to human experience. And they are directly related to understanding why everything happens for a reason, because they diagnose the core issue based on cause and effect. They provide, essentially, a diagnosis, the cause of the illness, a prognosis that recovery is possible, and a detailed treatment plan.
Okay, like a doctor's consultation for the human condition.
Precisely. The first noble truth is the diagnosis. It simply acknowledges a fundamental reality. Suffering exists. The Pali word is dukkha, which is often translated as suffering, but it also carries connotations of dissatisfaction, stress, unease, imperfection.
So it's not just extreme pain.
No, it encompasses the whole spectrum, from the obvious realities of physical pain, illness, aging, and eventual death, to the psychological distress we all experience: fear, loneliness, disappointment, anxiety, grief, frustration, the stress of things not being how we want them to be.
Just the background hum of dissatisfaction sometimes.
Exactly. This isn't meant to be a pessimistic outlook on life. It's presented as an honest, realistic recognition, like a doctor clearly diagnosing an illness before treatment can begin. We must squarely face the reality of dukkha in our lives, in all its forms, before we can find the path to its cessation. It's an invitation to stop denying or sugarcoating the uncomfortable aspects of being human.
Okay, truth one. Suffering dukkha is real. What's next?
The second noble truth identifies the cause of suffering. The diagnosis leads to identifying the origin, and the cause is pinpointed as craving or attachment. The Pali word is tanha, which literally means thirst.
Thirst, like being thirsty for.
Thirst for things to be different, thirst for pleasant experiences to continue indefinitely, thirst for unpleasant experiences to cease immediately, thirst for existence, or sometimes even thirst for non-existence when pain is intense. Suffering arises from our deep-seated habitual tendency to grasp at pleasant experiences, desperately wanting them to last, clinging to them.
And pushing away the unpleasant ones.
Exactly. Pushing away, resisting, fighting against unpleasant experiences, demanding that reality conform to our preferences. When we don't understand that everything happens for a reason, that everything is conditioned and impermanent, we take events personally. We cling to what's pleasant as if it could somehow be made permanent. We fight against what's unpleasant as if our sheer rejection could make it disappear.
Which just creates more tension.
It creates inner conflict, friction, and profoundly amplifies our distress. This leads to a constant underlying state of dissatisfaction because reality, by its very nature as impermanent and conditioned, is always changing and rarely matches our desires perfectly for long.
So the cause is our reaction, our clinging, and aversion.
Our habitual reaction, yes, that's the core insight, which leads directly to the third noble truth, the prognosis. Suffering can end.
Ah, the good news.
The good news. This truth offers profound hope. It asserts logically, if clinging and aversion are the causes of suffering, then the release of that clinging and aversion must lead to freedom from suffering. It states that nirvana, a state of profound peace, liberation, the extinguishing of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion is attainable. It is possible to end dukkha.
And how's that possible? Does it mean getting everything we want?
No, quite the opposite. It challenges the conventional worldly idea that happiness comes solely from perfectly arranging our external conditions, getting the perfect job, the perfect relationship, perfect health, endless achievements. While skillful external conditions are helpful, the ultimate freedom, the third truth suggests, is found through inner transformation. By changing how we relate to conditions rather than banking everything on controlling the conditions themselves. It's about letting go of that constant, exhausting need for things to be different than they are in this moment.
Acceptance, but not resignation.
Acceptance of reality, which then allows for wise action. Which brings us to the fourth noble truth, the path to the cessation of suffering. This is the treatment plan.
The practical steps.
Yes, it outlines how to achieve that cessation, how to live from this understanding. And that path is the Noble Eightfold Path. It's a comprehensive reorientation to existence, a set of 8 interconnected principles or practices that, when cultivated together, lead to liberation.
Okay, what are the 8 parts? Can you give us a quick overview?
Sure. They are usually grouped into 3 main sections. First is wisdom, panna, which includes right view or right understanding. This is the foundation. It's seeing things as they really are. Understanding the Four Noble Truths themselves, grasping impermanence, recognizing karma, cause and effect, seeing dependent origination. It's the understanding that everything happens for a reason according to conditions, and therefore not taking events so personally. Right intention or right thought. Once we have right view, our intentions naturally start to shift. We cultivate intentions of release, letting go of clinging, intentions of goodwill and loving kindness towards all beings, and intentions of harmlessness, nonviolence. It's about purifying our motives, moving away from self-centered desires towards a broader sense of care.
Okay, wisdom, seeing clearly and intending skillfully. What's next?
Next comes ethical conduct, sila, which involves how we engage with the world, right speech. Recognizing the power of our words, how they create ripples. This means speaking truthfully, kindly, constructively, helpfully, and speaking at appropriate times. Avoiding lying, harsh speech, divisive speech, gossip, and idle chatter that wastes time and energy. Right action. Acting in ways that are non-harming, ethical, and aligned with compassion. This includes basic precepts like refraining from killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct, and actively engaging in acts that benefit others. Right livelihood. Earning a living in a way that supports oneself and one's family without causing harm to oneself or others. It encourages choosing professions that promote well-being and don't involve exploitation, deceit, or trading in harmful substances or weapons. Recognizing how our work impacts the larger web.
Makes sense. Wisdom, ethics, and the third part.
The third is mental development, samadhi, which focuses on training the mind. Right effort. This is about skillfully applying our energy, making an effort to prevent unwholesome states, like anger or greed, from arising, abandoning them if they do arise, cultivating wholesome states, like kindness or mindfulness that haven't yet arisen, and maintaining those wholesome states that are already present. It's not about grim struggle, but intelligent, persistent, balanced exertion. Right mindfulness. This is the heart of the mental training. Training the mind to see clearly, to remain present with what is our body, feelings, thoughts, mental objects without judgment or reaction. This is that moment-to-moment awareness we discussed, allowing us to respond wisely rather than react impulsively based on old habits. Right concentration. Developing the ability to focus the mind, to unify attention, which leads to deeper insight and mental stability. This often refers to the ability developed through meditation practice to fix the mind calmly on a single object, like the breath, leading to states of profound calm, samatha, and clarity, vipassana, necessary for penetrating insight into the nature of reality.
Wow, it's very comprehensive.
It is, and notice how the entire eightfold path emerges naturally from deeply understanding the first few truths, especially that everything arises, exists, and ceases according to conditions, right view. When we grasp this truth deeply, we naturally stop fighting reality so much. Right intention, right effort. We become more careful about the conditions we create through our words and actions, right speech, action, livelihood. And we train our minds to see this process clearly and stay balanced within it. Right mindfulness, concentration.
So you stop fighting reality and start working skillfully within it.
Exactly. Cooperating intelligently with life's fluid processes. It's a pragmatic, ethical, and deeply transformative path based entirely on understanding cause and effect.
And this path, with its strong emphasis on observation, non-reactivity, and skillful response, it naturally leads, you'd assume, to a profound state of emotional balance, something many of us really yearn for in our often tumultuous up and down lives.
Absolutely.
When I think of that kind of deep, unshakable peace amidst life's storms, the word that comes to mind is equanimity.
Equanimity, upekkha in Pali. It's a key quality, often considered one of the highest fruits of the path. This brings us right to the cultivation of equanimity.
What exactly is it? Is it just indifference, not caring?
No, that's a common misunderstanding. Equanimity is not indifference or apathy or emotional suppression. It's a quality of mind, a balanced awareness that remains steady, open, and non-reactive, whether experiences are pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. It's born of wisdom.
How do you practice it?
In meditation, for instance, you practice observing sensations, emotions, and thoughts as they arise and pass away without trying to grasp onto the pleasant ones, oh, this bliss, I want more, or resist the unpleasant ones, this knee pain is awful, make it stop, or drift off during the neutral ones, like boredom. You simply know them with clear, spacious awareness. It's like being the calm, deep ocean that allows waves of all sizes to rise and fall on its surface without being fundamentally disturbed by them. Or being the calm eye of a storm, witnessing the winds and rain swirling around without being swept away.
That sounds incredibly peaceful. But how does it develop? It seems so hard when things are really good or really bad.
It develops naturally, gradually, as we truly begin to understand and internalize that everything happens for a reason, that all experiences, pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral, arise and pass away according to conditions. When we deeply internalize this truth, we start to take our experiences less personally.
Less personally.
Yes. We begin to recognize that pleasant things come not because we're inherently good and deserve rewards, and unpleasant things come not because we're inherently bad and deserve punishment. They arise because of a complex, impersonal interplay of causes and conditions, many of which are far beyond our immediate control, and frequently have nothing fundamentally to do with our individual worth or deserving.
So you stop blaming yourself or congratulating yourself quite so much.
Exactly, that personalizing tendency diminishes. And this perspective offers profound freedom. Freedom from that exhausting, endless cycle of craving pleasant experiences and frantically trying to avoid or push away unpleasant ones. Peace, then, comes not primarily from controlling what happens in your external world, which is often impossible, but from transforming how you relate to whatever happens, both in your internal world of thoughts and feelings and your external world of events.
Shifting the focus inward.
It's a shift from feeling like a victim of circumstance, constantly tossed about by waves, to becoming a wise observer and a skillful responder. You still feel things, but they don't dominate you in the same way.
Can you give an example of how that might look?
Sure. Let's say you recall a difficult work situation. Maybe you received some feedback that felt unfair, some criticism. In the past, this might have triggered an immediate storm of emotions, strong defensiveness, maybe anger, resentment, physical tension in the body.
Yeah, the usual reaction.
With developing equanimity, you might still notice those initial reactions arising. You'd observe the defensiveness, the flicker of anger, the tightness in your shoulders. You'd also observe the thoughts and beliefs supporting those feelings, perhaps thoughts like, they don't understand me, or this isn't fair, or beliefs about how people should behave.
You still see it all.
You see it all, but with a crucial difference. As you observe with mindfulness and wisdom, you begin to see the emotion, the anger, the defensiveness, not as a solid, permanent thing that is you, but as a process, a temporary phenomenon arising from specific conditions, the criticism, your past experiences, your current state of mind, like flickering candle shadows on a wall.
Shadows. Real, but not solid.
Exactly. They are real experiences, you feel them, but they are not solid, independent realities in themselves. They are dependent on specific conditions: the flame, the trigger, the air movement, your mental state, the wall, your body-mind, for their momentary existence. This awareness, this seeing them as conditioned processes, creates space around the emotion. Mental space. It makes the emotion feel less overwhelming, less defining, less like who I am, more like weather passing through the vast sky of your awareness. It allows you to experience your feelings fully without suppressing them, while simultaneously recognizing their conditioned, impermanent nature. And that recognition brings profound liberation from being completely controlled or hijacked by them. You might still feel the anger, but it no longer dictates your every thought or subsequent action. You have a choice in how you respond. That's equanimity in action.
This deep dive has offered such powerful insights. We've gone from the fundamental nature of impermanence to karma as cause and effect, the practice of mindfulness and meditation, the intricate dance of dependent origination, the vital importance of compassion over judgment, the roadmap of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, and finally this cultivation of equanimity.
It's a rich tapestry of interconnected ideas.
It really is. I feel like we've really unpacked some truly transformative concepts. Now, the crucial question, the one listeners are probably asking themselves is, okay, this all sounds profound, maybe even true, but how do we actually integrate this profound wisdom into the messy, complicated, unpredictable fabric of our daily lives, outside the relative quiet and controlled environment of a monastery or a meditation retreat?
Yeah.
Because that's where the rubber truly meets the road, right? Dealing with work stress, family issues, traffic jams.
You're absolutely right. That is the essential question. The real practice, the real test, happens not in perfect, idealized conditions, but right here, right now, amid life's complex, constantly changing, often challenging circumstances. These teachings are not meant to be confined to a meditation cushion or a philosophy book. They're practical tools for living a wiser, more compassionate, less reactive life.
So what are some of those tools? How do we bridge the gap?
Okay, let's talk practical integration. Here are some daily practices or shifts in perspective drawn from the sources that can help. First, mindful reflection. Maybe at the end of each day, take just a few quiet moments. Review some of the significant moments or interactions without harsh judgment. Simply notice the patterns of cause and effect. When I said X, Y happened. When I felt angry, I reacted this way, and these were the results. It's like being your own gentle, non-judgmental detective, learning about your own patterns.
Becoming aware of your own conditioning.
Exactly. And then maybe set a gentle intention for how you wish to meet the next day. This isn't about rigid expectations or trying to control the uncontrollable future. It's more like setting an aspiration. Tomorrow, may I meet challenges with a bit more presence, or may I remember to pause before reacting. It's about setting a skillful direction for your mind.
Okay, daily review and intention.
Meeting suffering with awareness. This is key. When difficult experiences inevitably arise, stress, disappointment, pain, loss, learn to meet them with clear awareness, as we discussed with equanimity. Instead of automatically trying to escape, fight, numb out, or resign yourself helplessly, you try to observe, okay, this is difficult. This is what stress feels like in my body. What are the conditions contributing to this? This shift transforms your relationship with pain. It's the difference between being constantly tossed about helplessly by a wave and learning how to skillfully surf it.
I like that surfing analogy.
It captures the active, skillful engagement. And related to this is remembering the farmer's story, that simple yet profound tale we mentioned earlier. It perfectly illustrates the wisdom of not rushing to judgment about events as being inherently good or bad.
The guy whose horse ran away.
Right. The farmer whose horse ran away. Bad luck. Maybe. The horse returns with wild horses. Good luck, maybe. His son breaks his leg riding one. Bad luck, maybe. The army comes to draft soldiers but passes over the son. Good luck, maybe.
Yeah, you never know the full story immediately.
Exactly. His consistent maybe response demonstrates the wisdom of seeing that no single event can be fully understood in isolation, especially not immediately. What seems like misfortune today might reveal itself as a blessing tomorrow, and vice versa. It's about trying to act wisely in the present moment, without the added burden of heavy emotional reactivity based on incomplete, limited judgment. It encourages recognizing the interconnected, unfolding, unpredictable nature of events.
That maybe is powerful. It creates space.
It does, and that leads directly to another incredibly practical tool, the power of the pause. When something challenging happens, someone cuts you off in traffic, you get critical feedback, you feel overwhelmed before you react habitually, yelling, defending, shutting down. Try to pause, just for a breath or two.
Just stop for a second.
Yes, and in that pause, you can consciously ask yourself maybe 3 powerful questions. 1, okay, what conditions actually led to this situation? Moves beyond blame, encourages analysis. 2, what would happen if I just resist this reality, if I fight against what's already happened? Highlights the futility and stress of resistance. 3, what response now would create more positive, skillful conditions moving forward? Shifts focus from reaction to constructive action, focusing on what you can influence. The simplicity of this practice, just pause, breathe, ask, belies its profound power. Just cultivating the habit of pausing before reacting can literally transform countless difficult situations in your life over time.
Pause, breathe, ask. I can remember that.
Yeah.
What else helps integrate this?
It's also helpful to reflect on past misfortunes occasionally. Intentionally call to mind experiences from your own past that seemed devastating or terrible when they occurred, but which, looking back now, you can see contained unexpected benefits or led you in a better direction.
Like losing a job that pushed you to find a better career.
Exactly. Or a relationship ending that created space for important personal growth. Or a failure that unexpectedly redirected you toward a path that turned out to be much more fulfilling. Actively remembering these instances builds confidence in the wisdom of suspended judgment. It reinforces the understanding that outcomes are rarely simple or final, and that difficulties can indeed be catalysts for growth.
Seeing the bigger picture in hindsight.
Yes, and try transforming your perception of problems generally. Instead of automatically seeing challenges as solid, random, unfair obstacles attacking you, try viewing them as dynamic processes arising from specific, though perhaps complex, conditions. Many of these conditions might actually be addressable through wise, skillful action on your part. Or, at the very least, your relationship to the problem can be transformed through understanding its conditioned nature. Problems become less like intimidating brick walls and more like complex, perhaps challenging puzzles waiting to be understood and navigated.
Shifting from problem to process.
It's a subtle but powerful shift. Also, crucially, strive to cultivate a compassionate relationship with others. When someone acts in ways that create difficulty for you or others, when they seem angry, selfish, careless, try to remember that their actions, just like yours, are arising from their own incredibly complex conditioning.
Their own causes and conditions.
Their own past experiences, their cultural programming, their neurological patterns, their current stresses, their fears, their unmet needs. It's a vast web for them, too. This doesn't excuse harmful behavior, and it certainly doesn't mean you don't set clear boundaries to protect yourself or others. But it does create space for seeing people more completely, more humanely, trying to understand the likely conditions behind their actions rather than merely reacting to the surface behavior.
Understanding before judging.
Such understanding naturally cultivates compassion, or at least reduces reflexive judgment and anger. It allows you to respond, hopefully, from a place of greater wisdom and clarity rather than just impulsive, habitual reaction.
And applying that to ourselves, too.
Absolutely essential. Hold your own emotions lightly. When difficult emotional states arise within you, anxiety, sadness, frustration, jealousy, observe them as conditioned processes, just like thoughts or weather patterns. Try not to identify with them so strongly as this is me or this feeling is mine. They were temporary phenomena arising when specific internal and external factors come together. Recognizing this offers immense liberation from being constantly controlled or defined by them. Remember the analogy, you are the sky. Your emotions are merely the weather passing through. The sky remains unchanged by the storm.
The sky and the weather. I like that.
And aim for skillful change. This understanding doesn't mean passive acceptance of harmful situations. It means learning to work skillfully with conditions as they are, rather than fighting blindly against them. Introduce beneficial new conditions where you can. Avoid both rigid, effortful struggle, trying to force things against their nature, and resigned, hopeless acceptance, passively giving up when action is possible. Instead, learn to cooperate intelligently with reality's fluid processes, like that monastery architect who designs a building to harmonize with the mountain's contours rather than trying to flatten the mountain first. It's about intelligent, responsive adaptation and intervention.
Working with, not against. Finding the leverage points.
Yes. And when it all feels too complex, too overwhelming, return to the breath. When you're feeling swamped by life's complexity, or maybe even just by all these ideas we're discussing, gently bring your awareness back to the simple physical sensation of breathing, in, out. rising, falling. This immediate, tangible experience is always available, regardless of external circumstances. It serves as a reliable anchor, a fundamental ground of presence from which you can regain your balance and expand your awareness again when you're ready. It's the home base.
Always available. That's comforting.
It is. And perhaps most importantly, give yourself permission for imperfection. Don't expect to perfectly maintain this profound understanding and equanimity at all times. That expectation itself becomes another cause of suffering, another form of unrealistic demand on yourself.
The shoulds again.
Exactly. When you forget, and you will, we all do, when you get caught up in reactivity, anger, fear, judgment, simply recognize what's happening as soon as you can. There's reactivity. And then, gently, kindly, return to awareness without layering on self-judgment or guilt. The path includes moments of forgetfulness, naturally followed by moments of remembering again. It's a journey, not a fixed destination, and cultivating kindness and patience towards yourself is an essential part of the practice.
Be kind to yourself on the path.
Crucial. And finally, consider community support. While the path is ultimately walked individually, finding others who share an interest in these teachings, maybe a sitting group or friends you can discuss these ideas with, can be incredibly helpful. Even occasional connection with fellow practitioners can significantly sustain your understanding and motivation, especially during challenging periods. Community support often makes integration much easier and more enjoyable than trying to practice entirely in isolation. Shared wisdom and encouragement are powerful forces.
Those are incredibly practical.
Yeah.
How do you know if this is actually working? If your understanding is deepening, are there signs?
Yes, there are usually noticeable signs over time, although progress isn't always linear. You might notice signs of deepening understanding, like generally less reactivity to difficult circumstances. Those automatic hair-trigger patterns of blame, resentment, anxiety, or prolonged distress start to loosen their grip.
They might still arise, but they don't take over as completely or last as long.
Okay, less reactivity.
You'll likely experience greater equanimity amidst changing conditions, less desperate grasping when things are good, less frantic avoidance or despair when things are bad, more of a sense of inner balance. You might find increasing creativity and flexibility in how you respond to challenges, seeing more options beyond the habitual fight, flight, or freeze reactions.
More skillful responses. Yes. And perhaps most importantly, you'll likely notice that you suffer less unnecessarily. You'll still experience life's natural pains and difficulties. The first noble truth remains true. But you suffer less from the added layers of mental proliferation, resistance, personalization, and elaborate negative meaning-making that usually intensify our distress so much. You suffer less from the second arrow, as it's called.
The second arrow.
Yeah.
The suffering we add ourselves.
Precisely. And what about guidance for really overwhelming times? What if things are just incredibly difficult, serious illness, bereavement, major life upheaval?
Yeah, what then? Do you just try harder?
No, that's usually counterproductive. In particularly challenging times, the advice is often to simplify the practice radically. Don't expect yourself to maintain perfect equanimity or profound understanding when your resources are depleted. Instead, the practice might become simply maintaining a minimal awareness. Just noticing as gently and non-judgmentally as possible that conditions are currently very difficult and that your capacity to cope or practice deeply is temporarily limited.
Just acknowledging the reality of the difficulty.
Yes. That simple, honest recognition, this is really hard right now and my capacity is low, itself represents the teaching in action. You are seeing clearly, without denial or judgment, how everything, including your current inability to practice more extensively, is happening for reasons according to conditions. It's a form of compassionate acceptance of the present moment, just as it is.
That takes the pressure off, too.
It does. And finally, maybe consider a tangible reminder. Sometimes a simple physical object can serve as a helpful anchor. Perhaps a smooth stone you carry in your pocket, or maybe a simple wooden bracelet, like those worn by many monks and lay practitioners.
How does that help?
Whenever you happen to notice it throughout your day, feeling it in your pocket, seeing it on your wrist, let it be a trigger. A trigger to take just one conscious breath. And in that breath, gently recall the core understanding. Everything happening in this very moment, including your awareness, noticing the reminder, is happening for specific reasons according to conditions. It's just a gentle, ever-present, silent invitation to return to this profound truth again and again, right in the midst of your ordinary life, wherever you are, whatever you're doing.
Little anchor in the storm.
A little anchor. Simple, but potentially very effective.
So wrapping this all up, what does this really mean for you, the listener? This whole deep dive into everything happens for a reason. It's clearly not about passively accepting some predetermined fate, is it?
Not at all.
And it's not about finding simple, perhaps convenient explanations for suffering, especially the suffering of others.
Definitely not. That would be a misuse.
Instead, it seems to be about recognizing the profound elegance, the intricate logic of how reality actually functions. Moment by moment by moment, whether we consciously recognize it or not, this web of cause and effect, of conditions arising and passing, is operating.
It's the fabric of existence.
It's about seeing that intricate, interconnected web of causes and conditions that brings forth every single experience, every joy, every challenge, every fleeting thought, every sensation, all arising, all passing, all drawn from the rich sources, the ancient wisdom you shared with us today.
And perhaps a critical insight, maybe a final thought to ponder, is this. Could it be that the only true obstacle we ever really face in life, the only fundamental source of our deepest suffering, is our own deep-seated, often completely unconscious refusal to acknowledge this conditioned nature of reality?
A resistance to how things are.
Our resistance, our demand that reality conform to our personal preferences, our likes and dislikes. Could it be that our suffering stems not primarily from the events themselves, but from this fundamental friction, this fighting against the natural flow of arising and passing?
That's provocative.
And if that's potentially true, then it implies that every single moment, no matter how ordinary or mundane, no matter how challenging or painful, is actually an invitation, an opportunity.
An invitation to what?
An invitation to align ourselves with this deepest truth, to see the conditions, to understand the process, and to participate skillfully, wisely, compassionately in the unfolding of reality rather than constantly struggling against it. The wisdom tradition we've explored today ultimately offers not an escape from reality, not a way to bypass life's difficulties, but rather a clearer, more engaged, more awake, and ultimately more liberating way to live within it, fully. So, may you, the listener, increasingly recognize that everything, absolutely everything happens for specific reasons according to conditions. And may this growing recognition bring increasing wisdom, deepening compassion, and a profound, unshakable sense of peace to how you navigate this precious, challenging, beautiful human life.